Two straight drafts. Two straight drafts with no tight ends taken in the first round. That's not going to happen this year, though. This tight end class is loaded. Brendan Albert is here. I'm Adrian Fedke. We're back. We just taped our top 5 wide receivers. Again, previewing the 2017 NFL Draft. Another rankings list on your way.
Let's do it. All about the tight ends right now. Let's get it.
Yeah. So, you know what? Let's get right into the list. Number one, I think number one should be fairly obvious.
O.J. Howard.
Yeah.
Now, O.J. Howard, the most put-together tight end we've seen in quite some time, guys. His route tree ability is unbelievable. His run blocking is great. First off, a lot of people don't realize that he's 6'6", so he's also one of the tallest tight ends here too, which is a big deal for the tight ends. Very long arms, big deal for the tight ends. Yeah, O.J. Howard is number one tight end coming out. He's probably a top 10 talent. I mean, I could see him going as early as 4 to the Jaguars. And the reason I say that is the Jaguars spent so much money in their defense this past year, and that it's like, what are the Jaguars going to do? Because they just paid a lot for new safeties. They just paid for Calais Campbell. You know, they just paid a lot in A.J. Aboye, so they don't need Lattimore. And there's not a lot of offensive weapons there that's talented. So if the Jaguars say, you know what, we're good on defense, the top only 2 players who are really that talented is O.J. Howard, which honestly is not a reach because he's that good, and he's a really safe pick, or Leonard Fournette. But yeah, O.J. Howard, number 1 tight end, definitely in the top 10 in my opinion.
Yeah, obviously you talked about the size, very athletic for his size, and you brought up the blocking. He's a guy that can block not only in line but in space, so he can do both of them. Don't be deceived by the numbers, because Alabama is, the design of their offense. They don't go to their tight ends a lot. It's not a vital part. So don't be deceived by that. O.J. Howard is a stud muffin.
No doubt, Adrian. Let's hop to our number 2 guy. Do you want to take this one, or do you want me to lead for a dose?
Go ahead. You can go ahead. You're the expert.
All right, so we're gonna go with David Njoku from the U.
That's what I meant too.
Yeah, I mean he's probably a little more. I think he's probably the second best athlete in the tight end. I think O.J. Howard's probably the third best athlete. And we'll get to a number 1 athlete in a moment, but.
Interesting. I thought Njoku would be number 1 because he's not an athlete.
He's my 2 athlete, but he's a big matchup nightmare for a lot of guys.
Oh, yeah.
I think he kind of reminds me a little bit of Julius Thomas, where he's definitely more of the pass catcher than the run blocker, but he'll get his nose in there and get dirty with you. Now, his problem is, if you go back and watch the Pitt tape, he wanted no part of the Pitt rush. So he's not a guy you're going to try to keep in. If he's on the field, he's in for passing situations. He can run block a little bit, but he doesn't want to pass block. That's a big minus in his game. I mean, for him, I still probably have him in the top 20 because of his athletic ability. But I like David Njoku, just not obviously near as much as O.J. Howard.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about the athletic ability. I think he's a very gifted athlete, but is he going to be Vernon Davis, or is he going to be Eric Ebron? He does have that good body control. I think you kind of mentioned that, adjusts to the ball well. Pretty good after the catch as well. But you talked about it. It's the blocking, and there's a couple guys in the top 5. I mean, they kind of lack some bulk, and they're not going to be able to block very well. We got some Jordan Reeds in this class.
We do, and my 3 guy is Jordan Reed. I mean, he is no doubt in my mind Jordan Reed, Evan Ingram from Ole Miss, Haida Toddy.
Yeah.
In my opinion, if the Patriots hadn't traded the 32 pick, I think he would have been the 32 pick by the Patriots. I'm also a believer that don't be surprised, guys, in 2 years if Gronk isn't wearing a Patriots jersey anymore, because there's a lot of miles on that body. So, I see, Evan Ingram being in that top half of the second round. Think about this. This is crazy to think about. When I say the word screen game, everyone's probably going to say, okay, I'm thinking about running back, then I'm thinking about receiver. Evan Ingram ran a ton of tight end screens at Ole Miss, very similar to what the Redskins did with Jordan Reed. So Evan Ingram's athletic ability is there. His stop and start and his run after the catch ability is unbelievable for a tight end. Now
Yeah.
his thing is he's not exactly this massive hulking tight end. He's 6'3". So
He's like 230 pounds. It's it.
yeah. I mean, who was the guy that Michigan came out of Michigan and drafted by the Panthers a couple of years ago? Can't think of his name right now.
Yeah. Jesus Christ, that's an easy one. I'm blanking.
I'm sure someone in the chat box will start jammering away right now in our face.
Oh, you guys are idiots. This
Exactly.
guy.
Yeah. I mean, anyway. But, I mean, this is a fair comparison to him, too, because could he be Jordan Reed? No doubt. But he also, could be a big bust and be a slide. He's not exactly a great run blocker. I mean, that's not really what his game is. He wasn't asked to do that at Ole Miss. And when he did, it looked like he kind of struggled. His thing that he likes to do in the run block game, he likes to overextend. And what I mean by that is he snaps his arms out, which is great, but he forgot to kind of bring his legs. So it's like two different movements. In the NFL, if you do that, you're going to get put on your ass pretty freaking quick, man. So Evan Ingram, he's a matchup nightmare, and we're seeing his value is very, very high. So I think he's probably going to be in the top half of that second round, but I think he's a really, really talented player. I could see the Jags getting him, early in that second round there. I mean, a lot of those teams who are in that early second round mix, this guy could be a really, really good play for them.
Yeah. By the way, I thought of that guy's name. It's Devin Funchess.
Devin Funchess.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah, Evan Ingram. I mean, you said a lot of what I was going to say. The thing I wanted to highlight is the run after the catch ability for a tight end. I mean, it's pretty remarkable. But you look at the body frame, man. He's basically like Kelvin Benjamin. I mean, it's almost the same size, basically. So he's almost like a big wide receiver. You got to get bigger though if he's going to want to block a little bit. Yeah, a lot of these guys. Gerald Everett, my number 4, same type of deal. Jordan Reed comparison. He's another guy, needs to bulk up a little bit. I think he might even be smaller than Ingram.
Probably. I mean, Ingram's big thing is he's so lanky. That's really what makes him separate from a lot of these guys. But in turn, that's also why he's very light, because he is just light.
Let me look up the combine sizes and weights. Let me see if I can find that.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Sure. Well, as you let me take a step forward, and then we'll take a step back when you get those numbers. So my 4 guy here is Jake Butt. Okay. Now, will he get drafted for? Probably not, because when you because here's the thing: when people are reading, and I've read a couple different scouting reports and a couple different insiders and all that stuff. A lot of people are saying they actually don't know what his timetable is for that return. So, depending on, again, the medical doctor, at what your team says, Jake Butt could be a guy who slides. So don't think, oh, Jake Butt sliding because of, he's not a good player. No, he could slide just because of his, his health. But if Jake Butt, when he's healthy, he reminds me a lot of Owen Daniels from back in the day, a lot of like Zach Miller. So he's one of those guys where he's a deceptive athlete for, a tight end. But he's bigger than people think. He's 6'5". I mean, he was a big dude. He's not far off from what O.J. Howard is. He's a little more of the traditional tight end, inline tight end that can still run a lot. He's not exactly like the Ingrams, who's just a freak athlete. But if you're a guy who wants to be a really physical player, pound away, and maybe if you're a team who has a tight end and you're just looking for them to develop, Cowboys, Panthers, Titans, Bengals. Teams who already have a tight end and can let one guy, let Jake Butts kind of heal and grow in the right direction. Anywhere 3 through 4, I think, is a fair pick for him. But if a team, really thinks he is cleared out medically and they want to draft him in the second, I'm okay. But also if a team thinks he's a terrible, terrible shape because of that ACL and he goes in the 6th, I understand that too.
Yeah, besides O.J. Howard, I think he's the most versatile tight end in this class. Now going back to the weights and the length and the heights. All right, so both of them are 6'3", I'm seeing here. Ingram 234, Everett 239. So they can't even crack 240.
Right.
So there you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Makes sense. Not terribly surprised by that. I mean, there's a ton of length. What was I'm sure, do me a favor, Agent, look up Devin Funchess, because I'm willing to bet Devin Funchess is probably a couple fruit snacks away from being in the same breath. And that was a big thing we said about Funches coming out was, he played in between the receiver and the tight end spot a lot. And that's a fair thing. And that's a fair concern, too, for Evan Engram is where exactly he going to fit. I mean, I could see a team who maybe doesn't really, know how to use him, just making him a complete bust. So if you draft him, you sure better know how to use him.
Funches 232.
Spot on.
Boom. Let's see, Kelvin Benjamin. Let's look him up. I'm gonna say he's like 225, 230.
I'm gonna say he's like 235, but he's probably 6'5". He's a big boy.
Yeah,
He's
huge. I guess I'll just look at whatever the hell ESPN has him with. ESPN has him listed as 245.
Yeah, he's thick. He's thick.
Yeah, I didn't realize he was 245 big. Damn.
Yeah.
All right.
He's a tight end.
Yeah. All right. Well, my number 5 is Jake Butt, and you kind of went into him already. I think he needs to maybe add just a little bit more bulk, but I think from a blocking standpoint, I think he can be very, very effective at the next level. Reliable receiver, you went into that. He can line up as a Y, as a slot, or on the wing, so he can line up in different spots. Obviously, the ACL is the concern for him, but I like Jake Butt.
That's fair. Yeah, I hear your reasoning. And Adrian, I'm sorry, could you go back? Who was your 4 guy again?
No, it was Gerald Everett. I didn't really get into him, did I?
Yeah, would you share, kind of give us a little feedback more, Adrian? Why do you have him at 4?
Yeah, I mean, to me, Ingram and Everett are kind of similar. I put Everett above him, though. I think Everett's got more run after the catch ability. Everett is a guy that is also solid after the catch, but he's not going to make a miss like Ingram. So I think they're very similar players. I think Ingram is just better after the catch.
Completely fair. Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think that's a fair one. I mean, I had him as my 6.
Okay.
My 5, and I'm going to throw a little bit of bias in here. I am so happy that we get to talk about a Division II player on our show here, Adrian. Bring in Adam Shaheen from Ashland University. Most people don't know Ashland is a very, very good football program in Ohio. It is a Division II program. But Adam here, and I'm going to kind of give everyone the full background because I'm sure a lot of people probably aren't super familiar with him like they are with the other guys. Adam's 6'6", great. So he's, right there with O.J. Howard. O.J. Howard, do me a favor, Adrian, double check this. I'm going to say O.J. Howard is probably like in the 240 to 250 range. So O.J. Howard is pretty thick. Adam, almost 280. I mean, Adam is closer to a tackle than he is to, a regular tight end. But here's the reason I put Adam in as my 5 guy. Adam's problem, as you would think it would be, you would think it's probably route running, being stiff. Maybe he's not really a good hands catcher. No, Adam's problem is run blocking, okay, which kind of makes people kind of chuckle. And that's why I have him as my 5, because if you can get him to learn how to run block really acceptably, a guy who's 6'6", 270, and he's running the 40s and around the 4.8s, he's a freak. This guy could really be something special. His problem, and I deal with it all the time when I work with high school athletes, when they're starting to go through puberty, I call it the awkward giraffe stage, where all of a sudden their body starts to grow and they're these big, lengthy, dangly guys and they don't know how to use it. Adam kind of looks like that on the field, but what he does is unbelievable. I mean, he's a great catcher. He runs better routes than you would think. He's pretty good after the catch. His problem is he overextends, but he also drops his head a lot of times in run blocking, especially when he's anything that he needs to chip, maybe like an outside stand-up backer and things like that. So Adam's my 5 guy. He's probably fairly in the 3rd to 4th round range, but he's someone who really could boom in the next level.
Yeah. O.J. Howard, 251 pounds. So there you go. I guess you got nothing to say about that?
Nothing to say about that. I'm just kind of sitting there smiling my head and be like, all right, that's pretty close to that. I'm happy about that one.
Yeah. All right, we got sleepers. Any other tight ends you like?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Farnell Brown from Oregon. He's going to be my sleeper. And a lot of times when I'm thinking about pass catchers. I think about teams who maybe had like a big drop off because tight ends and receivers, probably more than any other position, are super dependent on the other guys around them. You know, I mean, I think about like DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, he's putting up unbelievable numbers, but he's been barely able to play with a functioning quarterback and a pretty good offensive line. So, you know, you think about that. If Nuke was playing with really good quarterbacks, like if he was with Matt Ryan or if he was some other better ones, his numbers would be unbelievable. The reason I'm saying this is when I go into my draft process, I start to pluck from guys who I know are big name recruits. Mr. Brown was a 4-star coming out, so he was legit. He had some injury situations going on in Oregon, so he's probably going to be a 4th or a 7th-round guy. But I think his athletic ability is really there. Now with Oregon, he didn't really ask him a lot to block. They put him a lot in the slot, and they asked him to do a lot of crackdown blocks. So his blocking film, depending on who you ask, is either a cheapskate block because he's hitting a guy who's not looking, or he's just doing blocks that he's not going to be asked to do. I mean, the blocks he's doing in his film is closer to what NFL teams do with their slot receivers. So there's not a lot of stuff of him inline blocking, so he's a bit of a question mark. But athletically, and if I'm drafting it, you know, as a team 4 or 5 in the 6th round, and I'm just saying, hey, let's get an athlete and let's see what happens, I would go him.
Yeah, I'll throw Shaheen there as a sleeper. I mean, the scouts are raving about him, and they say he's got like some of the most upside in this class. What do you think? You agree with that?
Yeah, I think that's a fair thing. I mean, here's what we got to remember, guys. When we're starting to get anyone past the 4th round, in my opinion, we're starting to get to you know, guys who are just like, hey, whatever we get, we get, and if we can develop them, we can develop them. Yeah, Shaheem's another one. You know, I think him and Brown are very, very similar in, hey, let's draft them and just see how they develop. I think Brown's a little better of an athlete, in my opinion, but I think a lot of people would probably disagree with me, and that's fine. I think both of them are going to be in the 4, 5, 6 round, though.
Yeah. All right. I got nothing else unless you got something else.
Nothing. The only thing I'll say here is this is going to be a great segue when we start talking about linebackers and safeties. What we see, guys, all the time is value is always tied to other value. Perfect example here is this year. We see a lot of good tight ends. We're going to see linebackers get drafted pretty high. Regardless of what happened with Reuben Foster, he's still going to get drafted very high. Hassan Reddick, going to get drafted very high because we're seeing these tight ends, they're matchup nightmares, and teams think, okay, if I can't get the matchup on the offense, I better get something to stop them. So you'll see this, guys, when we start talking about our linebackers later on. These guys are going to get tied in very heavily. So the higher the tight end gets drafted, the higher those 2 linebackers I mentioned will get drafted too.
There it is. Brendan Albert bringing the heat as always. I am Adrian Fetcu. That is Brendan Albert. Our next show will be what, Sunday? We're going to do Sunday?
Yep.
Saturday? I forget which day. Was it Sunday?
Yeah, let's shoot for Sunday morning.
Okay. We'll do
Sunday morning, yeah.
We'll do Sunday. So Sunday we'll do offensive line.
Okay.
That's what we'll do. Yeah, we'll do top 5 tackles, and then we'll do like the interior linemen. We'll combine the guards and centers in a show. So that's what we'll do. Those will be our 2 on Sunday.
Perfect. We'll talk about the big nasty guys. The ones that no one thinks is a sexy pick, but they always think it's a sexy pick when they're watching Sunday and their quarterback's getting blasted in the face.
Yeah. Yeah. It reminds me of that Redskins game. The first one.
That happened a lot.
Halapuluvati Vaitai was a top for Ryan Kerrigan. But, yeah. All right. Yeah, we're out for the show. Peace.
Appreciate it, guys. Later.